Oh, just to own a NBA team.
One in particular?
Well, there's two actually. So one, my hometown team, the Houston Rockets, and the other would be the New York Knicks. Houston, I live here and I grew up here. New York, my parents first immigrated to New York City, and I love the New York being the basketball mecca. I know if I were to own the team, that I would get it. I would bring New York City back a championship.
Welcome, everybody, to the Big Hitters Podcast, where we study top producers across different industries, try to figure out what makes them tick. Today, we're joined by Pierre, who's a CPA, amongst other things. You do a lot of different things, I'm learning. So maybe tell, the audience a little bit of who you are and what you do.
Thanks, Andrew, for having me. Love your Fat Boy fitness content, man. I'm envious. Even your double meeting, so y'all, he's not telling you to be fat. It's actually faithful, available, and teachable. I asked him last night because he said, you're working out, crush it, but you have a Fat Boy fitness. So you got one over on me. So
Right.
my name is Pierre, as you mentioned. I'm a CPA. That's my primary profession. I'm the owner of Pierre Tax and Wealth Manager LLC. We do business as Pierre Accounting. So I'm the sole owner of that. Our primary target is for high net worth people that have income of $500,000 or more, or net worth of 1 million or more. We do have clients that don't have that, but that's become our primary focus. Besides that, I also advise on merger and acquisition transactions. That includes coming in and going out. So I do that. And then also, fun fact, I have a minority interest stake in a professional basketball team in the TBL out in San Diego. And last summer, I coached in the summer league, made my debut. Went 6-0, lost in the semifinals, beat coaches who coached in D1, the NBA. They weren't too happy to learn they lost to a nerd.
Wait, are you also the coach of the basketball team?
No.
Okay.
But I was offered by other organizations and programs to be an assistant coach, but they can't afford me. I only want to be a team president or owner at this point.
Yeah. And tell everybody what one of your goals is, because I thought that was so cool.
Oh, just to own a NBA team.
One in particular?
Well, there's two actually. So one, my hometown team, the Houston Rockets, and the other would be the New York Knicks. Houston, I live here and I grew up here. New York, my parents first immigrated to New York City, and I love the New York being the basketball mecca. I know if I were to own the team, that I would get it. I would bring New York City back a championship.
I love that. Yeah, I'm actually born and raised in New York City, so that'd be awesome to have a good New York Knicks team. Okay, man, we talk about hitters on this podcast, and you hang out with a lot of hitters.
Yes.
You do planning for a lot of big hitters.
Yes.
So tell me about that. Let's start with that. Like, what are some common let's start with this. What makes the hitters that you work with, like, what makes them like tick? Like, is there a trend, anything that you notice with these high net worth individuals that you work with?
Yeah, there's a few things. There's a lot, but let me start out with a few that come to mind. So they like to be in control. They want to control outcomes. They became successful because of being able to control an outcome. They're very curious. They have a good sense for when people are telling the truth or lying to them. They are very busy, and so one thing I've noticed that wealthy people like, couple of things which you can relate with in your line of work, in your career: speed and convenience. They also make purchases based on value and not necessarily price. A lot of, and I say this because there are a lot of people in my industry, they go online, advertise they work with rich people, but when they talk about their buying habits, they've misspoken. That's how I know you don't really work with the true elite. They may work with people that have, 1 to 2 million net worth, or most of the net worth is in, some single family homes, but they're not really working complex businesses where their net worth is 20 million and up. I have a few clients that are worth 10 million and up. Most of those people online have not worked with them. I'm not gonna say all of them, but most of them have not, by some of the things they talk about their habits. It's not with the people I see. And so they're willing to spend more money. For instance, people wonder, well, these people buy, luxury cars or country clubs. And so one, the tax code allows them to write off the cars, the private jets, because tax code gives you leverage to do that. Then they like to go to country clubs because they want to be able to socialize, but socialize privately without their business being put out there. And that's why when I see these people talk the way they do about rich people allegedly, and these characteristics, Andrew, the other thing, it doesn't matter what race. Once I see somebody that's worth 5 million or more, I'm dealing with the same personality. No matter what culture, whether you're African American, Latino, Caucasian.
Is that, by the way, you've mentioned 10 million a couple times. Is that the cutoff in your mind for high net worth and above?
I think if you're ultra high net worth, I would say, my dad's a CPA. He and I go back and forth. He said that to be independently wealthy is 3 million. But I think to really have influence, I would say closer to 10. But we define high net worth as if you make $500,000 or more of taxable income per year, or 1 million of high net worth. But you talk about ultra, the closer you get to the 8-figure net worth, I think that's more ultra, because that's where they have assets they can leverage to buy other businesses. They have the cash flow to go put, millions of dollars into funds that could pay, hedge funds that do the 220. Though, some of us that might be worth seven figures, we might be as liquid to invest in a hedge fund that requires $1 million investment that does 2 and 20.
Yep. And then talk about some of the strategies and things that you employ. So, two-part question there. One is, what are some common strategies you employ from a tax perspective of the high net worth? And then what are some common strategies you feel like people are leaving on the table that they should be taking advantage of?
All right. So you trail for a second, but just to make sure, the first one, what are common strategies for the ultra high net worth?
Yeah, or just high net worth. Yeah.
Okay, okay, we'll just go high net worth. So if you have, for tax planning, the reason it's 500,000, at 500,000, the ROI, or return on investment, in case some people listen don't understand what that means, it makes sense because usually you're going to do a couple ways. One, you're going to have charitable strategies, and depending on your income and the strategy, you can get up to 100% written off, but then you don't have control of that asset anymore. And then you also can use, and that involves leverage, or you can leverage certain assets. I'll give you an example, one that a lot of people hear about: private jets. You hear people buying a $50 million jet, you can write it off, and all your capital gains, ordinary income, can be zero from the bonus depreciation. Or something that may be more relatable that, I saw a lot in the streets in Austin and Miami. I was just in Miami, the G-Wagon. If you use it for business the way it's supposed to be used, you can write that off because you're getting leverage, right? So a G-Wagon's what, 200,000 to 300,000, depending on the market adjustment, give or take. Is that about right? So if you're in the highest tax bracket, $200,000, a $300,000 G-Wagon, and let's say you're a California resident, your combined federal state is 50%, that's $150,000 tax savings. You put $60,000 down payment, you save $90,000 cash. That's leverage. So you're basically getting a little more than 2-to-1 cash leverage. You got, 5-to-1 tax. And so for the jet, it's going to be similar economics, but that's going to be for higher level of net worth. So those are going to be there's others, but those are mainly going to be the two. Leveraging some sort of asset, whether it could be financial asset. I have clients that we use some sort of financial instrument where you can get up to 8-to-1. And it's supported by the IRS, by the way. It's been audited and stood up to, and all these strategies that we use, they've stood up to IRS scrutiny. My team and I, we research them before we present them. But that's the main thing. And another one that was popular for a while, conservation easements. President Trump, Ted Turner, buying land and donating, get up to 5-to-1 deduction, up to 50% of their adjusted gross income. Again, leveraging asset, raw land. So those are the two, just to make it simple, that's the two easy, I'll say the two straightforward ways. There are other ways, but that's the two most common.
Okay. One of the concepts that we always like to talk about is freedom, right? So we talk about spiritual freedom, financial freedom, time freedom, relational freedom. So, obviously you're a big hitter and doing a lot with high net worth individuals. Two-part question. One, do you notice anything that they do to maintain time freedom and relational freedom? And then two, how are you doing that in your own life and practice?
That's a great question. So, how they do get their time freedom and relational, they do a good job setting boundaries. And usually what that means is that they invest in their businesses, hiring, teams to take tasks off their hands so they can focus what they're best at, right? So I have a client, some of my clients have a personal assistant. And so the personal assistant does some of the business things and also handles some of the personal items, such as going to a dry cleaner. And then I'm having to do that. I'm working with you to help me with that. We just hired a VA. I had some turmoil in my company where we were organizing. And so I'm doing some of that. They also get coaching. I have coaching with Rise Up Kings. I meet with Coach Mondo twice a month. And then I also work with a therapist once a week because they all invest on the proper headspace. Because when you get to that level, it's here that determines whether you make your money or not. It's not necessarily the talent. And so for me, for instance, with me, when a high net worth person is looking to meet with me, they can look up and know I know what to do with the tax code. But they need to see, do I have the discipline, the focus, and do I understand the situation? That's what they look for. They also invest in their health. When you go to, I know you do the Fat Boy, you got the Fat Boy logo, but reality, they do not, like most of the men are married to very physically attractive women, but most of their women are very smart, and the women they're married to actually knows what's going on in their business. Some of them work in their business, and then they themselves keep themselves fit. I've lost over 100 pounds since September 2023 when I started figuring that out. I had a trainer in San Diego. I lived there half the year last year, telling me that you've lost business being gross overweight. So I lost 80 pounds last summer. So
It's awesome, dude.
yeah.
Okay. Always like to touch on AI. How are you seeing it impact your industry and how are you using it?
Well, in the industry, depending on the kind of work you do as a CPA, the tools out there are helping with, modeling. I work with colleagues that you could actually tell Chat GPT how to prepare you for an IRS audit. You can actually go through scenarios with it, and they can help prepare you for what the IRS is going to say to you. For me, I use AI for right now writing. since sometimes I work a lot, I sometimes use it so I don't stick my foot in my mouth. We're about to use it with you for some of the scheduling, follow up. I'm about to go on this worldwide tour. I'm speaking at an event at TPC Sawgrass next month. I'm going to be sponsoring an event at the Masters, the Kentucky Derby. And then I also am going to be, I think I'm going to be at some alternative asset conference in Los Angeles sometime. And so the AI is going to help with the follow up because, we get contact lists. I think we're going to get like 1,000 names, and then AI is going to help us, follow up and all that. So that's how we're using it. But there's some people that have AI be able to communicate with their clients. So it just depends on the practice. But it is people taking notice. And if you don't use it, you're going to be left behind. This is, you have to be able to use it at some point, because the one thing that you can't, you can always get money back, but you can't get time back. You can never buy time back. Once that's gone, it's gone.
Mm-hmm. You got it. Okay. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you wish I had?
Yes.
Go for it.
What's my short and long-term vision?
Yeah, tell me. That's good.
All right. So the short-term vision is to get, 50 to 100 new high net worth clients and really go all in on that. And I guess to some of my current clients here, that might be, they probably wonder, what about some of us that's still in the firm that are not high net worth? We're about to promote someone to be a tax operations manager to help service that. So that we can have a full, robust high net worth division. And the long term is to own an NBA team and be able to, use that team to impact the community. A lot of the athletes, they're not getting the financial literacy. And then, quite frankly, I don't like how the owners use their talents, and they're not helping them prepare for life after basketball. And I think that's an obligation. When I know some people say, well, these guys are getting paid 30, 50 million a year. But if the owners can pay that kind of coin, what do you think the owners are making per year? I mean, the NBA a long time ago was known as the Never Broke Association. Andrew, if I can pay you $50 million a year, what do you think? How much do you think I'm earning? I wouldn't give that to you just out of kindness of my heart. I mean, yeah, you're worth it. And the salary cap says I have to pay that. But how much am I making per year? What's my net profit? If I can pay you, if I can pay a team, a roster, $300 million, if you include the aprons and luxury tax, what are the owners making?
Mm-hmm.
Something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why they own these things.
Yeah. Last couple questions. If people wanted to learn more about you and your business, where could they go?
Oh, that's a great question. You can go to our firm's website, pierreaccounting.com. You can also find me on social media under Eric Pierre CPA. You can find that I've been in Forbes, CNBC. I've done a live show, Yahoo Finance. I've actually been on conservative and liberal talk shows online. So if you type Eric Pierre CPA, you'll find a lot about me.
And then there's a book too, right?
Yes. Yeah, The Great Tax Escape. I can't find my copies right now. We've cleaned up the office, but it's an Amazon bestseller. I thought I had a copy on my desk. Andrew, I don't want to tear my office up. Jay will get mad at me. But it's a great book. We're actually going to record an audiobook this summer with my Sports Gumbo podcast co-host, Drew Lasker. He's a commentator for the Super Basketball League over in the UK. He'll be here in Houston this summer, and we will block off a few days. It's gonna be like our podcast. We'll read the book. We'll also talk about it and make it fun, interactive. It'll be like David Goggins' audiobook, but we won't have the swearing. But tax is not an exciting subject. So when I was asked to do it initially, it's like, I don't want to read that book like that and say, but if we can make it interactive, then I'm willing to do it. And we'll also get to hear from, there'll be some people that help us on the strategy side, and we may be able to get a client to actually come on and talk as well. So this will be really, I think this will be one of the best, I won't say one of the best audiobooks ever, but I think it's going to be one of the best tax audiobooks ever. In that space, it's going to be the best one. Of course, the problem is the bar is probably not that low in that space either, sad.
Love that.